I've never met a real estate agent who didn't have ambitious goals for themselves. But most agents I know have a problem translating their goals into actions they can take that produce the result they want. In today's video, I'm going to lead you through how to write a proper goal, how to find the actions you need to take, and how to measure your success to ensure you achieve your goal when you want to. So let's get started. I want you to get yourself a piece of paper or open a Word doc and answer a few questions. Don't just think about your answers, it's important that you write them down. Writing down our thoughts forces us to be very specific and very clear. Number 1, which area would you want to improve the most, all else being equal? Number 2, what strengths do you have that could be better leveraged to achieve the life you want? Number 3, where are areas of poor performance holding you back? Where's the bottleneck? And number 4, if every other area remained at its current level of performance, what is the one area where change would have the most impact? Go ahead and pause the video until you have completed your answers. In looking at your answers to these questions, you can probably see some common themes appear. And those themes will give you a good idea of the part of your life or your business you should focus on for your goal. You can probably think of a lot of goals you'd like to achieve based on these themes, but for the purpose of today, I'd like you to choose just one. Why just one? Because at some point in the coming year, you're going to be faced with a tough choice of where to put your time and resources, and having a single goal makes that choice easy. Choosing one goal doesn't mean you won't accomplish more, just that you will accomplish this one thing specifically. If you've ever heard of the book, The 4 Disciplines of Execution, this is how they put it. Try for 2 to 3 goals, you'll achieve 2 to 3 goals. Try for 4 to 10 goals, you'll achieve 1 to 2 goals. Try for 11 to 20 goals, and you'll achieve 0 goals. Before we move on, I want to offer a warning about one of the most common goals I see. I want to close X number of deals per month. Consistency is a great thing to strive for, and I understand the desire to get rid of that winter panic that sets in when your pipeline dries up and your bank account gets low. But real estate is a seasonal business, and there are many parts of a transaction closing that will be out of your control. A while back, I looked at the stats for our brokerage, and out of the 250 agents we had at the time, only 9 could say they'd closed 2 deals a month for the past 2 years. One of our highest producers didn't make the cut because he had a March where nothing closed, even though he closed 6 deals that April. The good news is that you don't have to close a set number of deals every month to feel that sense of consistency. There are other ways, such as how you manage your money and time, and how you reach out to your sphere. Look for which aspect would have the most overall impact on your consistency and focus your goal there. So, now that you have your one goal, I want to ask you the following 5 questions. Number 1, is this what I want, or just one way to get it? Are there any other ways to get what I want? For example, if you want more income, you could earn more, or you could spend less. Number 2, is my goal specific and defined, or are there multiple possible interpretations? Number 3, can I measure this goal and define accomplishment with a clear yes or no? Are there any caveats or clarifications I need to define? Number 4, is this goal achievable in the next 12 months but not in the next 6 months? And feel free to adjust these timeframes if you're choosing a shorter term goal. Number 5, is this something that actually matters to me in my business, or just something I think I'm supposed to be doing? Your goals are your goals, and you shouldn't try to pursue things that you don't really want. Once again, pause the video and write down your answers for all 5 questions. By now, you should be able to state your goal in a single sentence, such as, by blank date, I will blank. For example, by the end of next year, I will have closed 20 transactions, or by June 20th, I will have my new website up and running with all my online social media pointed to it. Or by March 1st, I will be able to run a mile in under 10 minutes. Pause the video and write down your sentence. There should be no wiggle room in your goal. It should be a yes or no question. Either you closed 20 transactions or you didn't. Be careful you aren't using fuzzy terms like work on my marketing, or accidentally making 2 goals into one, such as I will close 20 transactions and do 10 million in sales. That doesn't work because it's possible to do 19 transactions and make 12 million in sales. You need to pick which part of the goal is more important to you and focus on that. If your goal does not already sound as clear and specific as this, pause the video again and keep rewriting it until you have something very clear and very specific. Next, we'll need to figure out what you're going to do to make your goal happen. I want to define 2 terms for you that also come from the 4 disciplines of execution: lag measure and lead measure. A lag measure tells you where you are and how you're doing, but it's not something you can directly affect. This includes things like your transaction count, your average sales price, even your cholesterol levels. Your actions and behavior will move these measures over time, but you can't move them directly. You can't just pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit down to focus, and do more transactions. Your goal itself is probably a lag measure, but lag measures don't actually get goals done. They are only useful to let you know how well you're doing. In contrast, a lead measure is something you can do yourself that will directly affect your lag measures and therefore your goal. This includes things like the number of open houses you host, how many client touches you do per year, or how much red meat you put on your plate. Your lead measure will usually be defined as either an outcome or a habit. An outcome is a defined result, but any means are allowed. For example, have at least 15 past client phone conversations per week. A habit is a specific behavior that is likely to result in a desired outcome. For example, at 6 p.m. every weeknight, spend 30 minutes making past client calls. Let's take a closer look at these 2 examples. You can probably tell right away that one of these is more likely to work out for you than the other. Everyone is different and there is no right or wrong answer. With the outcome option, I haven't set aside any particular time to accomplish this. I also haven't accounted for the fact that some of these conversations will be really short and others really long, so the amount of time I spend doing this will change every week. On the plus side, I have a really clear goal and a lot of freedom to achieve it. I can make my calls whenever I choose, and I can craft my business plan around a set number of calls. With the habit option, one problem may be that you only have 5 conversations during the week because you're chatty and you'll be on the phone for 30 minutes with each person. It also might be impossible for you to find any good time of the day that you can set aside every single weekday. On the plus side, the amount of work per week will always be the same, and it allows you to emphasize quality over quantity, as you might prefer 5 really good conversations over 15 quick ones. This is what I mean by neither of these is right and neither is wrong. It's simply that most people can look and see immediately which one will play to their weaknesses and which one will play to their strengths. You may even find yourself choosing outcome lead measures for some goals and habit lead measures for others. So now it's time to brainstorm some ideas for your lead measure. We'll get into specifics and wording in a moment, so for now, just focus on the general thing you want to do, such as phone calls or social media posts or simply time spent. Ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what could I do that I've never done before? Number 2, what strengths could I leverage? Number 3, what weaknesses are keeping me from my goal? Pause the video now to do your brainstorm. Now that you have some ideas, we need to pick out the best ones. Here are some questions you can ask to help you determine which ideas will make good lead measures. Use these to figure out which 1 or 2 ideas will work best for you. Number 1, is it predictive of achieving the goal? Number 2, is it something I directly control or influence? Number 3, is it an ongoing process as opposed to a one and done? Number 4, can it be measured? Number 5, is it worth measuring? Hopefully by now you have figured out at least one great idea to use as your lead measure. Now let's talk about how to make it clear and defined. Every lead measure will have some kind of number in it. So what is the number you're going to track? It could be number of calls, hours spent, number of open houses, etc. You also need to determine if this is a daily or weekly number. For example, the number of open houses you hold will need to be a weekly number, but the number of client reach outs you do might be better as a daily goal. Once you know what kind of number you need, you will have to decide how big that number is. This is your quantitative standard. Are you posting 5 times a week on social media or 20 times? Are you making 2 calls a day or 8? You want something that is challenging, achievable, and in line with your larger goal. Don't just pick a number that sounds nice. Next, you need to define a qualitative standard. For instance, does leaving a voicemail count as a client call? Can the 30 minutes you spend on marketing every day include time on your social media? A few other things to keep in mind. Your lead measure should start with a verb: call, host, read, attend. You also want to keep it as simple as possible. If you're trying to fix a process, you want to focus your lead measure on the weakest part of the process. For example, if you're getting plenty of leads but not closing enough transactions, you want your lead measure to be related to the part of the client interaction where things tend to fall apart. If your goal is more like a large project, and you therefore don't have a repeatable task to do, you're going to need to choose task milestones as your markers. Break it into weekly or daily tasks or groups of tasks, and your lead measure can be to always complete the week's milestones. If you'd rather have a habit lead measure for your project, it can be focused time spent. You'll still want a clear path though, so make sure you outline your project first. Here are a few examples of good lead measures. Now, pause the video and write down your own clear lead measure. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, you need to be keeping score. There are 3 kinds of scoreboards I recommend. The first, don't break the chain. This scoreboard is ideal for daily actions that can't be stacked. For example, if you want to wake up at 6 a.m. every day and you miss Monday, you can't wake up at 5 a.m. on Tuesday to make up for it. Every day you either did it or not. And if you do it, you get to put a big X on that day. This type of scoreboard is super easy because all you need is a calendar and a marker. Number 2, project list. If you're working on a project, your scoreboard can be a list of your milestones. Make sure your milestones are clear and that each one has a start date, a due date, and a way to mark them as done. Number 3, growing graph. The growing graph is my favorite kind of scoreboard and a perfect way for lead measures where you can catch up if you fall behind. For example, if you're trying to do 3 client contacts a day and you miss a day, you could do 6 the next day to get back on track. These aren't the only options, of course. Thermometer charts and simple bar graphs can work just as well. The important thing is that you can see your scoreboard every day and that updating it is simple and fast. It's profoundly motivating to have a scoreboard to go with your goals, to watch your progress as it moves along, and to see if you're winning. But there's another important reason to keep a scoreboard. You can't lie to a spreadsheet. You can't convince yourself there's a big X on every day of the calendar when there's clearly not. Scoreboards hold you accountable and keep you honest with yourself. You have 3 pieces of homework this week. First, pick a scoreboard and personalize it to your goal. I've included examples and templates in the materials. Second, complete one final exercise to prepare yourself for your goal. I call it Defensive Pessimism, and it's about accepting the inevitability of failure so that you're prepared to overcome it. There's a worksheet included that guides you. Finally, figure out what else, if anything, you can do to set yourself up for success. If you're going to be writing thank you cards, go buy the cards and find a nice pen. If you're going to run every morning, make sure your shoes are in good condition and your workout playlist is ready. Whatever your last steps are, that's your homework. That, and the most important step of all, pick your start date. I recommend tomorrow, or better yet, today.